Why do humans keep dividing into groups? Why do we cheer for one side, defend our team, our country, our belief, even when the stakes are small? Why does belonging feel so good and difference feel so threatening? Every day you see it everywhere in sports, in politics, in culture, even online. We build walls, draw lines, and decide who's us and who's them. But what if this behavior isn't new at all? What if it's one of the oldest features of the human mind, a survival instinct disguised as identity? Today, we're going to unpack one of psychology's most revealing ideas: social identity theory. It's the story of how the need to belong created both cooperation and conflict, and how understanding it might just change the way you see the world and yourself. Let's begin. Have you ever noticed how quickly people form groups? Sports fans, political parties, brands, nations. Sometimes even the simplest things like the phone you use or the music you like can decide who feels like us and who feels like them. But here's the strange part. Even when those groups are meaningless, even when they don't matter, we still divide. And we start to favor our own side. Why? Why do humans instinctively sort themselves into tribes? And why does belonging to one make us feel so powerful, while seeing others outside that group makes us wary, defensive, or even hostile? To understand this, we have to look at one of the most fascinating ideas in modern psychology, social identity theory. It explains not only how we build our sense of self, but also why humanity keeps repeating the same pattern, us versus them. Let's begin. It all started with a simple experiment. In the 1970s, psychologist Henri Tajfel wanted to understand how prejudice forms. So he created what's now called the minimal group experiment. He invited participants into a lab and asked them to estimate how many dots were on a screen. Then he told them randomly that they were either overestimators or underestimators. These groups were completely meaningless. No history, no competition, no real difference. But when Tajfel asked them to divide money between members of both groups, something shocking happened. People favored their own group even though it was random. They gave more points to members of their own team, even if it meant everyone, including themselves, ended up with less. In other words, they didn't just want their group to succeed. They wanted it to succeed more than the other one. That simple experiment revealed something deep about human psychology. Our brains don't need real differences to create division. All they need is a label. This is the foundation of social identity theory. At its core, it says that part of your identity, the way you see yourself, comes from the groups you belong to. You are not just you. You are also a member of something larger. Your nationality, your profession, your culture, your generation, your fandom, your political belief, your family. All of these pieces merge to create your social identity. And that identity changes how you see the world. The theory rests on 3 simple but powerful steps. Step 1, social categorization. Our brains love shortcuts. So, to make sense of a complex world, we categorize. We divide people into groups, us and them, insiders and outsiders, familiar and foreign. It's not always bad. Categorization helps us process information quickly. It's how we know who to trust, who to compete with, who to avoid. But once we create those categories, something subtle happens. We stop seeing individuals. We start seeing labels. Step 2, social identification. Once we've sorted ourselves, we begin to attach emotion and meaning to those categories. We say, I am part of this group. I'm a teacher, I'm a gamer, I'm an environmentalist. And suddenly being part of that group becomes part of our identity. We take pride in it. We defend it. When the group succeeds, we feel successful. When the group is criticized, we feel personally attacked. Our sense of self-worth becomes tied to our group's image. And this is powerful because belonging gives us comfort, direction, and meaning. Step 3, social comparison. Now that we've joined a group, we start comparing it to others. We want our group to be better, smarter, more moral, more deserving. Because if our group looks good, we look good. And this is where things can turn dark. To feel pride in our own group, we might unconsciously devalue others. We exaggerate their flaws, downplay their achievements, and magnify our differences. From here, in-group favoritism and out-group bias are born. The instinct that once helped small tribes survive now fuels everything from harmless rivalries to global conflicts. Let's make this concrete. Imagine two groups of fans watching a football match. They wear different colors, chant different songs, and cheer for different teams. There's no logical reason for them to dislike each other, but as soon as the game begins, something primal awakens. The crowd splits into us versus them. Victory feels personal, defeat feels humiliating. Now replace football with politics, or religion, or ideology. The emotions are the same, just amplified. Because deep down, our brains treat group identity like survival. Belonging equals safety. Rejection equals threat. That's why political debates online feel like war. Why people fight over brands or cultural symbols. Why even tiny differences can trigger huge emotions. It's not that humans are irrational. It's that we're tribal by design. Let's talk about what happens inside your brain when this us versus them switch flips. When you feel part of an in-group, your brain releases oxytocin, the same chemical that builds trust and bonding. You literally feel safer and more connected. Your brain rewards you for belonging. But when you face an out-group, different circuits light up, especially in the amygdala, the brain's threat detector. You become more cautious, alert, and sometimes aggressive. Your brain interprets difference as danger. It's not moral failure. It's ancient programming. In prehistoric times, knowing who was part of your tribe could mean the difference between life and death. Cooperation within the group helped everyone survive, but trusting outsiders could get you killed. So our ancestors evolved to favor us and fear them. That bias was adaptive in a dangerous world. In today's world, it's complicated. Because the same instincts that helped our ancestors survive now shape everything from culture to politics and even global conflict. When us versus them becomes the main story, empathy fades. We stop seeing nuance. We start seeing caricatures. And slowly we forget that behind every them is another us. This process has a name: dehumanization. It's when outgroups stop feeling fully human. History is filled with examples: wars, discrimination, propaganda. Every tragedy begins with language that turns people into others. But here's the crucial point. That same mechanism can also create belonging, love, and unity. Because the power that divides us is the same power that connects us. Let's flip the perspective. Groups aren't always bad. They give us identity, meaning, and strength. They let us cooperate, innovate, and build civilizations. When used well, social identity drives teamwork, creativity, and progress. Think about scientific communities, social movements, or humanitarian efforts. People come together because they share an identity built on hope, not fear. The problem isn't group identity itself. It's when identity becomes exclusive, when we define ourselves by who we're not, instead of by what we share. When we start saying we are good because they are bad, that's when social identity turns toxic. So how can we use this knowledge wisely? Psychologists suggest two powerful ideas. First, expand your definition of us. The human brain will always form groups, but the boundaries are flexible. We can widen them. We can choose to see common ground, not just difference. National identity, for example, can coexist with global empathy. You can be part of a smaller tribe, your city, your culture, your team, and still remember that we're all part of the same species. Every time you see someone as part of a larger US, you weaken the instinct for division. Second, focus on shared goals. Research shows that when groups cooperate toward a common goal, prejudice decreases. When soldiers from rival units fight together, when fans from rival teams face a shared cause, when nations unite to solve a global problem, the boundary between us and them begins to blur. Because working together rewires the story our brains tell. Let's revisit the essence of social identity theory. It's not a theory about hate. It's a theory about belonging. It shows that humans are wired to connect. But that same wiring can divide us if we're not aware of it. It explains why you cheer for your team, why you defend your community, and why disagreement sometimes feels like danger. It explains the comfort of belonging and the fear of exclusion. It explains both compassion and conflict. The good news: understanding it gives us power. The power to pause before reacting. The power to see how easily our emotions can be shaped by group labels. The power to choose curiosity over hostility. Because once you see how us versus them works, you can start changing the story. Maybe the real goal isn't to erase our groups, it's to remember that all groups are connected. To understand that identity is a tool, not a cage. That the person who disagrees with you isn't your enemy, they're another human playing by the same ancient rules. We can't delete tribal instinct, but we can evolve how we use it. We can choose to define us in broader, wiser ways. Not us versus them, but us together. That's the deeper lesson of social identity theory. It's not just about why we divide, it's about how we can unite. And the next time you feel the urge to pick a side, remember you already belong to the biggest group of all the one we all share. The human one. So the next time you see two sides arguing online in politics, or even in everyday life, pause for a moment. Remember that both sides are playing out the same ancient script. A script written deep in the human brain long before cities, nations, or the internet even existed. We all crave belonging. We all need identity. But we can also choose to see connection instead of division. To expand the word us until it includes a little more of them. Because the story of humanity isn't just us versus them. It's us learning to understand ourselves. If you enjoyed exploring this idea, stay curious. And remember, the more we understand how our minds divide the world, the closer we get to bringing it back together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.